Wow. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports. And we've got news here coming from Michael Scotto, who reports for Hoops Hype. He is talking about Bradley Beal here. And I've been talking about him on the channel for a bit, saying, don't think it's a done deal that he's staying in Washington. And I think this gives a little bit of validity to that. So let's go ahead and go through what Michael Scotto is reporting here. Make sure to go give him a follow on Twitter for his reporting. Does a lot of great stuff. He says, Wizards star Bradley Beal will decline his $36.5 million player option for the 2022-2023 season. This effectively makes him an unrestricted free agent, which is crazy, right? Brad Beal, we've been operating under the idea that he will be there for Washington. And I understand the premise there with that, hey, Washington's going to have him as their guy. They got Kristaps there to work with him. They also have Rui Hachimura. They have Kyle Kuzma. You think, hey, that's a pretty good collection of talent, right? But then last week, we hear a little bit more rumor about Brad Beal knows what he's already decided, and no one else knows that. There's also reports out that Bradley Beal wants to win and that he's going to go somewhere where he feels like he can. And that's really shaking everything up right now. Bradley Beal is headed toward unrestricted free agency, and that's already dicey territory in this offseason because the teams that have cap space include teams like Orlando and Detroit and San Antonio, which are those the teams that Bradley Beal is going to go to? Unfortunately for those franchises, I would guess not. I think he's going to look at the bigger picture and look at teams that are much more competitive right now. Not that those teams are bad. Those teams have great futures. I think San Antonio, Detroit, Orlando, they're all in good spots with their organizations. But Brad Beal has his eyes on something a little bit shinier, brighter, and a little bit more gold. And what I'm talking about there is specifically the Larry O'Brien trophy. He wants to go somewhere where he at least has a shot to play for that. So now could we be looking at a team like the Boston Celtics, who just lost in the NBA Finals? Would Bradley Beal consider them? He's really great friends with Jason Tatum. We know how long the relationship goes back even to AAU basketball. And I know Brad Beal is someone who is a highly competitive player who wants to win right now. And he's a good enough player to do so. If he's on the right team, the right infrastructure around him, that could make some sense. Would Washington be able to pull Jaylen Brown back in a sign and trade? I don't think so. I think they would have to have their eyes set a little bit lower, maybe a Robert Williams plus something. Does Boston even want to do that, given the fact that they just made the NBA Finals? I'm not sure. Brad Beal, he's a really good player, but giving him $200 million on a contract, he's not that young. He's not as young as I think everyone assumes he is because, he's reached stardom a little bit more recently, specifically the last 2-3 years. He's pretty well into his late 20s at this point. Do you want to lock yourself into him? I think some teams will. I would be a little bit more hesitant if it came with the cost of some of my roster, like in Boston's perspective. Now, would a team like the New York Knicks throw everything at him? Yes, but are the Knicks really in play here for Brad Beal? Are they in a position to win? I don't think so. Going off the teams off the top of my head, the Lakers would love to have him. They've facilitated a trade with the Wizards in the past, but at this point, the Wizards aren't going to take back Russell Westbrook in a sign and trade. And the sign and trade is really where it's going to be important. Washington is maybe going to have to help out some of these teams. I know one of the rumored places has been Philadelphia. Would Washington let Beal go to Philly? And the issue here with that is maybe they don't even have to. Philly's one of the teams that could actually open up salary space by moving off of Tobias Harris, moving off some of their other veterans, say like a Danny Green, some of the others there in Philadelphia. They would have to make a variety of moves, but since James Harden officially has not opted in yet, they have cap space, and then they could bring back James Harden using some of their early bird rights that they have and the bird rights from the deal. So they're in a position where I think Philadelphia is probably the front runner right now to land Bradley Beal if he's not back in Washington. There's some other teams too that you could consider. How good would he be in Toronto? I think phenomenal. I think this would really be the missing piece. Is OG Anunoby enough to get a deal started here between Washington and Toronto? Amid some reports that OG Anunoby doesn't want to play the role he's been in Toronto. The issue with that is he's been injured last couple of seasons, hasn't played full seasons. And you also look at the fact that Washington's already got guys there like Kuzma and Kristaps who want to have the ball in their hands. Is OG Anunoby even going to be happy with the role he finds in Washington? I think maybe this is the start of a rebuild for the Wizards, which could be a long one, given what they have on their roster, kind of the history with that franchise. I don't think that they're hungry for a rebuild. I don't think that they want to go down that road, but they might just have to here if Brad Beal wants to leave. Now, I know the team that everyone's going to talk about is Golden State. given the fact that they just won a championship, they are not going to move the young pieces to try and get another. They feel like they have enough talent in-house. Golden State is not going to be in the running for Bradley Beal. I would be shocked if he ends up with the Golden State Warriors. Now, would the Dallas Mavericks want to pursue something for Bradley Beal? Is a Jalen Brunson sign and trade back something that makes sense? We know the Wizards are competitive right now, trying to make moves to upgrade that roster. We've heard some of the rumors about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, DeJounte Murray. They want to get better at point guard to basically tell Beal, we want you to stick around. You can win here. The issue is, how much of their future do they have to leverage to do that? How many of the contracts on their roster do they have to move in order to get that done? And then what if Beal leaves anyway? That's really the risk that they take. Draft night just became way more interesting for Washington. Will they move pick 10? My guess is if they want to keep Beal, they're going to do it. They're going to make a big move on draft night. We'll see what happens. Maybe a deal for DeJounte Murray, although I would bet against the Spurs moving him. Maybe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. How gluttonous is Sam Presti for draft picks? How aggressive will he be? Will he move his best player right now to get more draft assets in the door and maybe a collection of other players in a deal? There's options here out there for Washington. This is one of the most important things of the entire offseason, though, if not the most important thing. I used to think Sacramento was the most important and intriguing situation because of pick 4. That has quickly shifted to Washington with Brad Beal here. He is an unrestricted free agent. Comment, let me know where you think he goes in free agency. Again, I'm just kind of blown away with how fast this is all developed. I was keeping him on my radar, but I was not expecting it here 2 days before the draft for the news to come out that he will be declining his player option. Again, absolutely crazy news. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Hopefully you did enjoy today's video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more. Wizards fans, I'm sorry for you guys. Definitely a sad, somber moment here as we maybe have seen the last of Beal in Washington. Absolutely crazy. Thanks again so much for watching, though, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.